Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla, here to talk to you today about GB racing covers. You should be looking into a set of GB racing covers if you want to keep the track out of your bike and you want to keep your bike off of the track. These are currently being made for sport and sporty bikes. Use the bike finder because these are super application specific. Installation on these for most of you I think is going to range between 1 and 2 beards on our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty. Really is a straightforward bolt-in item. We'll talk more about how the installation is a real benefit with the GB racing engine covers. But for the most part, it's only going to get difficult if you have to take any plastic off your bike. Let's get right into things. Before we start talking about the GB covers you see up here, let's talk about what happened in the old days. When you were getting ready to go to the track, you'd pick up a set of NRG covers, and they were made of really thick billet aluminum. They added some weight to your bike, but they were thick, heavy covers, and if you put them on there and you went down, you would crash, you'd grind your cover down, you'd run it until tech told you it was too thin, then you'd throw it away and replace it. And that was the story of life. Until one day, somebody decided, hey, let's start making some engine covers. Instead of destroying our expensive factory pieces or replacing them, we can just cover them up with a sacrificial piece. Enter GB racing covers. So GB racing covers are made from glass reinforced nylon. I think this is an important distinction, and I'll tell you why right now. Those of you who ever put a bike down know that there's two components to a crash. There's the act of the bike actually coming down onto the pavement, and then there's the act of the bike scrubbing speed off and coming to a stop when you can assess the damage, pick yourself up, make sure you're okay, and then start attending to your motorcycle. Glass reinforced nylon is going to be fairly rigid, so that means it's going to be great in a sliding scenario, especially for those of you guys who are hanging out at the track and a long high-speed slide is you're concerned. A more rigid material like that glass reinforced nylon you can see here, you can see how stiff these are, I'm not really giving much, is going to be your best bet. Now there's other covers on the market that are made from polypropylene. Those will be a little bit softer. So those might offer you a little bit more protection in terms of, say, a driveway tip over. But for those of you who are true track rats and you really are worried about that high speed slide, something like a glass reinforced nylon is probably going to be your best bet. Now we're going to get to installation in just a second here, but I'm going to wrap sort of the last benefit of the GB racing engine covers into that installation. And you can see here there's bolts up here for all of these. You'll notice the amount of bolts here is good for the cover, but if you look at whatever these are supposed to protect, there'll be more bolts on there. Now, that sounds probably confusing for just a moment. Let me explain exactly what it is I'm saying. If you see, say, 4 bolts on this particular piece here, there's going to be 6 bolts on the cover behind that. What GB has done here is made it so that you don't have to remove anything from your motorcycle. So unlike in the old days when you used to have to physically unbolt an engine cover and you were actually getting into the internals of your engine, you don't need to do that with the GB covers. A couple of bolts are always going to hold your factory piece in place, and instead these are going to slide over and you'll always have at least a couple factory bolts retaining that cover, allowing you to take these on and off without losing any engine fluids, ruining any gaskets, or getting inside of your motor. Which brings us to the install piece. As I had mentioned, 1 to 2 beards. For those of you who are working on a naked bike or an exposed cover, really it's a 1 beard install. You're going to bolt your new stuff in, and you're set to rock and roll. The only way it pushes into that 2 beard category are for those of you who are going to run these covers, but perhaps are sticking with your factory OEM bodywork. If you have race plastics, those are usually pretty easy to get off, probably still keep you in the 1 beard territory. But if you're working with OEM plastics, those can be a little bit of a bear to get on and off. So I would say that pushes that job into 2 beard territory. A couple things you might want to think about before you attack your install. You probably want to have some sort of a thread locker if your manufacturer requires it for the given piece that you're protecting. And the other thing that's almost an absolute must-have is going to be a torque wrench. You can eyeball the torque if you want to, but do so at your own risk. I really like the GB racing covers if that's not evident. I think especially for those of you guys, like I said, hitting the track who are worried about those long protracted slides, GB racing is making some products here that might save your bike. My opinion is not the only game in town though. Click that info button. See what some folks who are already rocking GB covers in their bike have to say about them. If you got a fitment or an install question, feel free to get in touch with us. See us at RevZilla.com. You can always give us a jingle on the horn too. 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.